I've never been one to believe in ghosts or the paranormal. That is until I encountered something that shook the very foundation of my beliefs and left me questioning the nature of reality itself. It was a crisp autumn evening when I decided to visit the old abandoned mansion that had long been rumored to be haunted. As an amateur photographer, I was drawn to the eerie beauty of its dilapidated facade and the secrets it held within its walls. With my camera slung over my shoulder, I ventured into the mansion's decaying interior, my footsteps echoing through the empty halls like whispers of the past. The air was thick with dust and the scent of decay, a tangible reminder of the mansion's long-forgotten history. As I explored the labyrinthine corridors, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if unseen eyes followed my every move. I brushed off the sensation as mere paranoia, attributing it to the eerie ambience of the abandoned mansion. But as I ventured deeper into the heart of the mansion, the whispers grew louder, their ghostly echoes reverberating through the empty halls. It was as if the very walls themselves held the memories of those who had once walked these halls, their voices crying out to be heard. I raised my camera, intent on capturing the haunting beauty of the mansion's interior, but as I peered through the viewfinder, I froze. Standing at the end of the hallway was a figure cloaked in shadow, its features obscured by the darkness that surrounded it. My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled to comprehend what I was seeing. There was no logical explanation for the figure that stood before me, no rationalization that could account for its presence in the abandoned mansion. With trembling hands, I lowered my camera, my breath catching in my throat as the figure began to move towards me. Its movements were slow and deliberate, as if it were testing the boundaries of its newfound freedom. I backed away, my footsteps echoing through the empty halls as I sought escape from the specter that pursued me. But no matter where I turned, the figure was always there, its presence looming over me like a shadow in the night. As I reached the staircase that led to the mansion's upper floors, a sudden chill washed over me, sending shivers down my spine. I turned to flee, but as I did, I caught a glimpse of something in the darkness. A pair of eyes, cold and lifeless, staring back at me from the shadows. I stumbled backwards, my heart pounding in my chest, as the figure emerged from the darkness, its form taking shape before my very eyes. It was a woman, her ghostly visage twisted in agony, her eyes filled with a sorrow that pierced my soul. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my lips as the woman reached out to me, her spectral fingers brushing against my skin like ice. I could feel the weight of her despair pressing down on me, suffocating me with its unbearable intensity. And then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the figure vanished, leaving me alone in the darkness of the abandoned mansion. I stood there, trembling and disoriented, trying to make sense of the terrifying encounter that had just unfolded before me. As I stumbled out of the mansion's crumbling interior, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had stumbled upon something far more sinister than I had ever imagined. The whispers that had haunted me throughout my journey seemed to linger in the air, their echoes a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked within the abandoned mansion's walls. In the days that followed, I found myself haunted by visions of the woman I had encountered in the abandoned mansion. Her eyes, filled with an unfathomable sadness, burned into my memory like a brand. I tried to convince myself that it was nothing more than a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination born from the eerie atmosphere of the abandoned mansion. But deep down I knew the truth, that I had encountered something beyond the realm of the natural world, something that defied explanation and comprehension. And as I lay awake at night, Haunted by the whispering shadows of the abandoned mansion, I couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden in the darkness, waiting to be uncovered.
When I was 13 years old, I had a small bedroom on the first floor of our house. Money was tight, and with 4 kids, my mom did her best to manage. My room was adjacent to the living room, a snug space with wooden flooring. 2 large vents adorned opposite corners of the room, with 2 more in the ceiling. My bed took up half the room. That's how small it was. One evening, while diligently working on my homework atop my bed, since I lacked a desk, I distinctly heard the laughter of a child. Curious, I stepped outside my room to investigate, scanning the living room and kitchen for any sign of my siblings. However, they were all upstairs. This wasn't a fleeting thought or a figment of my imagination. I was certain I had heard it. Resuming my homework, I kept one ear tuned to any further unusual sounds. Just as I began to put the laughter out of my mind, it echoed once more, this time lasting longer. Strangely, it seemed to emanate from within my own room, not from outside. Suspecting a sibling prank, I followed the giggles to a corner of my room, where the laughter seemed to be coming from the floor vent. With a mixture of apprehension and curiosity, I knelt down and pressed my ear against the vent, but the giggling had ceased. Then, cautiously, I peered inside, only to meet a pair of eyes staring back at me. Startled beyond belief, I let out a piercing scream, summoning my mom to the scene. But by the time she arrived, the laughter and the eyes were gone, leaving her to believe it was the product of an overactive imagination or lack of sleep. Refusing to spend another night in that room, I ended up sleeping in my mom's room for the next few nights until she insisted I return to my own bed. Despite my trepidation, I spent the next 4 years in that room without any further paranormal encounters.
It was a quaint little cottage nestled deep within the woods, a place my family had inherited from generations past. As a child, I found solace in its rustic charm, but as an adult, returning to it stirred feelings of unease I couldn't quite shake. One summer, I decided to spend a weekend there alone, seeking respite from the chaos of city life. The first evening passed uneventfully, the chirping of crickets outside providing a soothing backdrop to my solitude. But as night fell, an inexplicable sense of dread crept over me. Retiring to the bedroom, I noticed an antique mirror resting against the wall, its ornate frame casting eerie shadows in the dim light. I dismissed the unease, chalking it up to tiredness, and crawled into bed. In the dead of night, I was jolted awake by a soft whispering sound, barely audible yet unmistakably present. Heart pounding, I scanned the room for the source, my gaze eventually settling on the mirror. To my horror, I saw my reflection mouthing words I couldn't hear, its eyes fixed on mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Paralyzed with fear, I watched as the mirror image beckoned me closer, its silent entreaty growing more urgent. Against my better judgment, I found myself drawn to it, inching closer with each step until my breath fogged the glass. Suddenly, the whispering ceased, replaced by an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow me whole. Just as I reached out to touch the mirror, a hand emerged from its depths, its icy grip wrapping around mine with a strength that defied explanation. Terror-stricken, I tried to wrench myself free, but the hand held fast, pulling me inexorably toward the mirror's surface. With a final desperate cry, I plunged headfirst into its depths, the world around me fading into darkness. When I awoke, I found myself in a strange, shadowy realm, the air thick with a palpable sense of malevolence. As I struggled to orient myself, I realized I was not alone. Figures lurked in the darkness, their eyes gleaming with a sinister light that sent a shiver down my spine. Terrified, I stumbled through the abyss, each step leading me deeper into its labyrinthine depths. Time seemed to lose all meaning as I wandered, the boundary between reality and nightmare blurring with each passing moment. Just as despair threatened to consume me, I stumbled upon a glimmer of hope. a faint light flickering in the distance. Ignoring the whispers that echoed in my mind, I followed its guiding glow, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. As I drew closer, the light coalesced into a doorway, its frame shimmering with an otherworldly brilliance. With trembling hands, I pushed it open, emerging into a blinding cascade of light that nearly blinded me. Blinking against the glare, I found myself standing before the mirror once more, its surface now calm and unassuming. But the terror of my ordeal lingered, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond its reflection. Fleeing the cottage, I vowed never to return, haunted by the memory of that fateful night. Though I tried to rationalize my experience, a part of me knew the truth. There are forces in this world beyond our understanding, lurking in the shadows, waiting to ensnare unsuspecting souls like mine. And though I may never fully comprehend what happened that night, one thing remains certain: I will never look into a mirror the same way again.